My name is David Lowery, and I'm a filmmaker from Texas. I moved to Texas when I was about 8 years old, and I would say by this point I am undeniably a Texan. When I was about 9 years old, maybe 8, I can't quite remember, I was playing with a friend in his backyard, and I asked him if he thought that maybe, would you ever make a movie someday? And he said, I don't know. And I told him that I was pretty sure that I would make one someday. And from that point forward, that was pretty much all I ever wanted to do. And I got out of high school, used some of the money I was supposed to use for college to buy a camera and an editing system, and I made a feature-length film that no one will ever see again because it was a learning experience. And it was a wonderful learning experience, but it's the type that doesn't need to be seen by anybody. So that will remain in the bottom drawer of my closet for the rest of history. Who taught me what I know now? I would say I can't attribute anything to anyone other than my parents, who not only raised me but educated me. I was homeschooled from first grade all the way to 7th grade, and I never learned much in school one way or another. If I wasn't a filmmaker, I would probably be making movies in some other medium. I would be doing the same thing. I would be expressing myself in the same tone and the same scope and using the same tools, but in a different medium. And that medium might be music, it might be fiction or literature, it might be building houses. Could be any one of those things. And, I could build a house and call it a movie, and it would probably be just as, it's the same thing to me. My favorite filmmaker who is alive and working today is Paul Thomas Anderson. He makes a movie every couple of years, and every time he makes it, I've grown as a person, and he's grown as a filmmaker, and we kind of just progress in tandem. And I've never met the gentleman, and maybe I don't ever need to, because I just love his movies so much. Who he is, to me, I'm interested in it, but it's his work that inspires me, and hearing that he is working and that he's going to make something new always gets me going. My first memory of technology would be my dad in Wisconsin in his study under the stairs, which might not actually have been under the stairs, but that's the way I remember it. But he would sit in his study, and he had an old IBM computer that he bought from some warehouse in Milwaukee, and it was this ancient, gigantic computer that had a word processor on it, and he used it to write his dissertation when he was getting his PhD. And I remember being in bed late at night and hearing his dot matrix printer print out the pages of all of his work, and that horrible screeching sound that those printers used to make. How has access to the internet and open communication changed my life and work? I would say I was 17 or 18 when we first got the internet in our house. I was like a sophomore or junior in high school, somewhere in that age range, and it was instantly just a portal for me to discover more about movies. I could just go online and read about movies that were being made and what was coming up and where things were coming from. And when I started making my first film right out of high school, I set up a website for it, learned some very basic HTML programming and made a website. And that sort of has been the window through which a lot of my work has been received in the past 11 years since then. And in regards to being a part of the millennial generation, I think that last answer has a lot to it, because I wish I didn't have to rely so much on technology. And I only wish that because I remember a time when I didn't rely on it. But kids growing up now, and I look at my youngest sister, who is 12, she's 18 years younger than me, and she doesn't know what life is like without having a fancy computer